Yeah, hi all. Good morning, good evening. So, in today's session, I'm going to explain about the last optimizing Informatica level, right? Informatica workflow level. Whatever the uh, points available at Informatica level, we can use for the optimizing perspective, right? So, in this session, I will explain. And last session, I was explaining about the grid and other one like concurrent program. So that part I can show you, right, where you can use the concurrent program. Another part, right? Let me just recap our previous session, okay, so that you can go through. So I was explained last time on this point, right? Optimizing grid, okay. So grid, how can use the grid to transform, right? And what is the options, right? There is multiple option: balance, integration, process partitions, right? CPU utilization, right? Running a session on a grid can improve throughput, okay. When you run multiple session on a grid, then you can share your subtasks, okay. So what is the push down optimization? Push down means just push down, means at either your source level or target level. That's what but yeah, this is the option is not available for every like trial version or something. It's the paid version. Okay, so that option will provide, then you can use in your organization. What is the concurrent session and workflow level, right? That one also I will explain. And buffer memory, I will explain today's session, right? What is the memory, buffer memory you can use? Yeah, that option is available at our session level. So I will explain there how to increase the DTM buffer. Okay. So optimizing the buffer block size. So these part I will show you in our Informatica level. Let me open. Here is I have opened already. So I'm opening one of the going on workflow manager. Here is this is the workflow manager. Understood, guys? Yeah. This is the workflow manager, and here is I'm just opening my page 10. Yeah, some of the mapping I was already developed. Okay. So here I can show you what is the options, right? What all are here is some type task developer worklet. Suppose you want to design any worklet. Worklet is nothing, just a combination of your multiple session, right? That's what here is workflow designer. So I'm just going to open one of the workflow here. Let's suppose I open this workflow, right? Here is workflow, okay. So if you go in workflow, here is some type of repository. Edit, if you want to copy, then you can copy, okay. View toolbar, there is also tasks, workplate, workflow, repository manager, designer, whatever the components of Informatica, everything. Here's the versioning, right? Suppose you want to let's suppose you have selected, right? Here is the versioning will show either here or where there, right? It will be so, yeah. Right now it's disabled because it's not paid, okay. So here is workflow, right? So in this workflow, what I was explained in last session, concurrent program you need to enable, right? So you need to enable. Here you can just edit. If you edit, there is some concurrent option, right? If you go in general, there is the workflow name, comment, integration service, whatever there is suspension email. Suppose you want to configure the email, you can configure the email, okay. Runtime option disable, enable, suspended. Web service, if you want to configure web service, you can configure, okay. Now here is the concurrent. Suppose you click on enable, right? Configure concurrent execution. If you can configure the click on yes enable, then here you can configure your all concurrent program, right? Allow concurrent on with same instance, allow concurrent with unique instance, right? Here you can add multiple instance name, runtime, parameter file. Based on the parameter file, you can execute multiple location, department wise, how you want to execute your mapping, right, or workflow. Then you can accordingly we can configure, right? You can configure multiple, right? N number of option here. So you can execute once suppose I executed, right, and apply. When you are going to execute, I start in advance always, it will be ask always to you. Then you can select, just clear here, then you can select any option, then you can execute, it will be execute. And at this option you can just suppose let's suppose any value you have called, that parameter you need to pass here. workflow, right? Parameter value you need to pass. So that option you need to follow for the concurrence perspective. Okay. Second option like DTM buffer and DTM memory, I was explained, right? Here is the property, right? There is the property. If you come back in option, there is the option for the DTM buffer size, right? So let's suppose here I will mention some specific value, but somehow sometimes we updated like auto, sometimes updated like a specific value because you know like how much space available in your machines, right? So accordingly you can update here, and that's what inside our suggestion we told you here. Increasing the DTM buffer size setting specifies the amount of memory that integration service uses as a DTM buffer memory. When you increase the DTM buffer memory, the IS creates more buffer block which improve performance during momentary slowdown. Okay, so increasing DTM buffer memory allocation generally cause performance to improve initially and then level off. If you do not see a significant increase in performance, then DTM buffer memory allocation is not a factor session performance. Okay, to increase DTM buffer size, open the session property and click the properties tab. Okay, edit the DTM buffer size property in the performance setting. Increase the DTM buffer size property by multiple of the block size. Okay, so this way you can update. How to optimizing the block size? If the machine has limited physical memory, right? Limited means very less, right? And mapping in the session contain large number of source and target or partition. You need to decrease the buffer block size. Then if you are manipulating usually large row of data, okay, increase the buffer block size to improve performance. If you don't know the approximately size of the row, determine the row size of the completing following steps. Okay, just go through all things I will update in my website also like blogs. Okay, so you can read everything in the mapping designer. Open the mapping for the session, open the target instance, click the ports tab and the precision of all column and target. So repeat step 2 and 5. The 2 and open the target instance, click the port tab, add the precision of all columns in the target. If you have more than one target in the mapping, repeat steps, calculate the precision for each target, right? So these are our option you can just follow and you can update, right? Choose the largest precision of all sources and target precision for the total precision in buffer block size calculation. Okay. So now optimizing the buffer block size, the total precision represents the total bytes needed to move the largest row of data. For example, let's suppose the total precision equal to 33 okay, thousand. Then the integration IS requires 33,000 bytes in the buffer block to move the row. If the buffer block size is only 64, right? The IS service cannot move more than one row at a time. Understood, right? To set buffer block size, then session property and click the config object, edit the default block size property in advanced setting. As a DTM buffer block size allocation, increase buffer block size should improve performance. If you do not see an increased buffer block size, is not a factor in session performance. I hope you understand, right? So there is option. Let me show you. Here is option, right? Here is object configure. Here there's sort of buffer block size. That here is auto. So you need to confirm. Here is sequential buffer length. Here is the maximum buffer allocated, right? The default block size you need to increase. Okay. So need to follow. Okay, so how to what is the cache, right? How to update this cache value? So integration service uses the index and data cache for XML target and aggregator, rank and lookup and the joiner transformation. The integration service store transformed data in the data cache before returning it to the pipeline. Okay, first whatever the logic build written, right, based on that all value is stored in cache. Each transformation like your transformation like your XML, right? Suppose you have XML using aggregator, okay, and the rank, lookup, and joiner. These transformation updating the cache, the I cache before here is data cache before returning it the pipeline. store group information in index cache. Also, the integration uses a cache for store data for SATA transformation. Okay. So to configure all things, all these observation uh, amount for cache memory, use the cache calculator or specify the cache size. You can also configure the integration service to calculate cache memory setting at runtime. If the located cache is not large enough to store the data, the integration service, okay, stores the data in a temporary disk file. A cache file as it is processed, the session data performance slow each time the integration service pays to a temporary file. Okay, so examine the performance counter to determine how often the integration service pays to a file. Okay, so here is the limit the number of connected input and output only port. Select the Okay, so how to perform optimize cache? Limit the number of connected input and output only port. Select the optimal cache directory location. Increase the cache size. Use the 64-bit of power center version to large caches. Okay. So here just try to tell don't unused column you can use, right? Just exclude each column. Don't right. Otherwise it will be create unnecessary cache. So limiting the number of connected port for transformation that use the data cache. Limit the number of connected input and output port only. Limiting the number of connected input output or output reduce the amount of data the transformation is stored in the data cache. Okay, if you run the integration service in a grid, right, only some integration service node have fast access to the shared file directory. Configure each session with a large cache. Run the node file. Okay, to configure the session to run on a node. Okay, so to create a power center resource, make the resource available to node. Fast access to the directory. Assign the resource to that session. Okay, if all IS process a grid have slow access to cache file, set up a separate local cache file directory. Okay, you can just create another directory for each integration service, and IS process may have faster access to the cache file if it run on the same machine, right, that contain the same directory. Okay, note if you have encountered performance degrading when you cache a large quantity of data in a map. Okay, mounted the drive. Okay, increasing the cache size, how to increase, so each option also available, so you can just go through these things. So you can configure the cache, right? I'm just explaining some detail. If you configure the cache size to specify the amount of memory allocated to process transformation. Okay, the amount of memory you configure depends on how much memory cache on a disk you want to use. You need to just assume, right, how much data you expected to process via this. Then it could be on the basis of that you can configure the actual memory. If you configure the cache size and it's not enough to process the transformation in memory, the integration service process some of the transformation in memory and the pages. Okay, that information to cache the file to process the rest of transformation. Okay, each time is page to cache a file and the performance it get slow. So you can examine the performance detail for a session, determine when integration service page to a cache file, the transformation read from disk or transformation write disk counter or any aggregator rank or joiner transformation indicate the number of times the IS page to disk to process the transformation. Okay, if the session contains the transformation that use a cache and you run the session on a machine with sufficient memory, that increase the cache size to process the transformation memory. Okay, so is the theoretical just go through. Okay, I will update this a complete part note in our blogs as well, so that you can go through and understand. But yeah, but better this is mostly part is the complete advanced part like performance perspective. So you can so not a very like who is the initial learner, they not use, but initial learner who are basic, right? You can just go through my video the basic one. Okay, So now here it use the 64-bit version of Power Center. Okay, if you large volume of data, so Power Center version to increase performance, because the machine is also like the CPU utilization is also required for performance perspective, right? So that part you that's what here we are trying to explain. This can improve session performance in volume below area like caching and the data throughput. Throughput will be increased and the caching also will be increased, right? So this is all about our performance. Let me show you the some mapping at level. Like here is the real option, right? Here you can visualize. Here is the partition also, right? Partition efficiently disable because we are not the paid version, but yeah. But somehow, suppose if any partition you want, right, you can enable and go for whatever the things you want. So here, yeah. So first two property I will explain like DTM and buffer part. Third one is tab is all are mapping information. First is your start page. Second one all are the connection you can visualize here. And the third one memory properties. How much you have configured the DTM memory default block. All will be come in one picture, right? Memory properties if you click here. So suppose you want to increase or decrease, you can increase accordingly. You can update this buffer auto memory allocation. Here is auto updated, so you can update accordingly. Here is the lookup cache. Suppose you have any lookup you are using, the lookup generating the cache, right? And how much memory was allocated. Here is right auto, right? If you want to calculate, then you can here is the calculate that memory and paste it here, right? Number of rows and unique, like whatever you want, right? Here is the index size. You want to index cache, right? You can enable accordingly. And otherwise, if you don't know, like, then you can update auto. It will be create automatically. So similar way for other one also. Okay. So third one is file. Suppose you are using any kind of flat file or something, then all information is here. Session file, session log, parameter file name, Java class path. Suppose you are using any Java transformation, then here you can explain Java class path. Here is the log file directory. Okay, lookup, right? Suppose you are lookup using the flat file, then that directory you can use. Here is the cache directory basically. But yeah, suppose if any lookup you are using the flat file, then that information will be available. Now here is the source and target and transformation, right? Because our mapping is built on the source, target, and transformation. There is three pillars, right? So these pillars is available inside the source pillar. Here is the source query. You can visualize your query, transformation, whatever, everything here written user join, number of ports sorted, right? Tracing, select listings, right? Pre-SQL. Suppose you want to write any pre-SQL before things, right? You want to, you can here is post SQL, right? So you can write any post SQL also. Want to do anything that way. Suppose you want to write any query on top of your mapping, you can write here accordingly. It will be executed. But yeah, this is the priority. Which one is latest one written? Latest one is session level. One is the priority. Give the first. Okay. Here is the SQL query. Suppose you want to write any SQL query, you can write an override query kind of. Here is the source filter. If you want, you can add the source filter. So these are the option, right? When I will explain the cloud, that one also I will explain that time. But all options should be in same everywhere. Here is the okay. So how many source you are using? That source will be so here. Now, now here the target. So yeah, here is the target option target pillar. And inside target the similar option like target name normal whatever the truncate insert like update as update insert first update as update else insert else delete truncate table option reject file directory reject file name. Okay, so these are option available. Okay, so here is the override something. If you want to write something, right, update override, then you can write here. here is table prefix. Suppose you want to use the any prefix like schema name something, you can update here. Here is also pre-SQL, post-SQL, right? And here is table name. Suppose you want to mention the table name, then you can update your table actual table name here. Okay. After that, here is the transformation information. All the transformation. If you want to view to one level, suppose you click here, all things will be visualized here. Okay. What is the router update strategy, everything you can view, right? So these are all about mapping tab. Now go on, next tab is the component. Suppose in component tab there is pre-session command, post-session command, post-session failure command, on success email, everything you can configure it. Here reusable, non-usable, right? The pre-session command, if you want to write any command, write the Unix command, you can write here. If you want to success mail, you want to on success email, suppose your mapping gets succeeded, right? And you want to send an email something, then you can configure here. Okay. All are variable, whatever everything you can configure that option. Last one is your metadata extension. So here also that extension option available, you can use and create. So these all about the your session part. Okay. So session and the workflow, right? So here is some worklet also. Worklet I will explain, right? Let me, I will take the new session, but on high level I can explain. Workload you can create like this, like test. I will test worklet. Okay, here is worklet created, right? And worklet is just kind of your multiple sessions, right? Suppose I added this session, okay, so I can link this session from, okay, whatever, right? Multiple session you can include, and okay, here is to, you can write it. When you come in workflow, let me save this work. Okay, you know like what is the name, test worklet. So that worklet you can call from under this workflow. Okay, so this worklet I can call here. Okay, and when I link from this, it will be execute. That's what's the here is showing some invalid, maybe yeah, invalid. Why invalid? Yeah, maybe the same child worklet test worklet is not enabled concurrently. Okay, here I was enable something. Okay, okay, okay. Now say it's the valid now. Yeah. So here you can execute by this, but worklet combination of your session. So by this way you can use. Okay, can execute. So this is the your workload, but yeah, I will explain more on next session as well. But some part which I want to explain right in here. Let me clear what is the task, right? Multiple task is available, right? A task is like your session, command, decision, event wait, decision, event wait, email assignment, workload. These are the tasks actually. Okay, timer, so control. So this task also will discuss in one session what is that, so that you understand. But yeah, this task is usually used for the execution, right? Command task, say decision, suppose you want to execute this mapping or that mapping. Event wait, suppose you watch some file, right? That kind of things you can use there. So I will take one scenario and I will explain, right? So I think yeah, mostly I was done. Yeah, some, yeah, mostly done. Yeah, here is task workplace. This part I was explained mostly. Okay. Uh, this part is a scheduler. Suppose you want to schedule, you can schedule. There is the variable you want to create any variable, you can do that way. Here is the event, right? You can create meta extension also. So these are property you can use, but yeah, no, not everywhere you can use, but yeah, somewhere if you want, you can use it. Okay. So this is all about the today's session, right? How Informatica optimizations right thing. So you can just go through my all video, and I'm going very soon. I'm just going to start some cloud part as well, like Informatica. Who is the related cloud want to learn, right? You can here I will show share everything. By in short kind of but yeah, if you want like a detailed session and dedicated session, so my batch will be start soon, like from the new batch will start from 15th April. So yeah, if anyone interested, they can just comment me, or just me a WhatsApp link also there. So you can just ping, or update your interest, will call you. Okay. Thanks for watching my channel. Yeah.